Have you ever had a gut feeling that someone was lying to you, but you couldn't prove it, so you stayed silent? That silence often comes at a cost. On average, people lie at least once a day. Sometimes they do it to protect someone or to avoid consequences, but often it's to manipulate you. That's why knowing how to spot a lie isn't just some cool party trick. It's mental self-defense. So today, I'm breaking down 9 powerful techniques FBI agents use to detect lies, except I'll show you how to apply them in your everyday life. Let's start with the one thing most people mess up. Ask the right questions. You ever ask someone, "So how was your night?" and get a vague, surface-level response that tells you nothing? That's because broad questions make it easy to hide the truth. A 2018 study confirmed it. General questions like, "Tell me what happened," don't reveal much because liars can skate around the details. And positive assumption questions like, "You didn't get back late, right?" are slightly better, but they still make it easy for them to just agree and move on. So try open-ended questions with a negative assumption. Say something like, "What kept you out so late last night?" Now the pressure's on. If they're telling the truth, they'll just explain. But if they're lying, they're forced to build a fake narrative, which means more room for inconsistency. But here's what most people get wrong. You don't need to go full attack dog. Creating a calm, neutral space makes it easier for the truth to slip out naturally. Interrogation vibes make people shut down. Even if they're being honest, start chill. Then get strategic. Now, once you ask the question, the next 5 seconds are everything. The 5-second rule. The truth is, liars need time to think, and you can use that against them. When you ask a question, the first 5 seconds after that are super important, because after 5 seconds, their brain has had enough time to get distracted or come up with a perfect and believable lie. Here's what to watch for. Verbal signs like dodging the question and contradicting themselves, and nonverbal signs like face touching, breaking eye contact, and looking away. Individually, these might mean nothing. Everyone has quirks. But if you catch 2 or more signs at once, that's called a cluster, and it drastically increases the odds they're lying. Now that you know what to ask and what to look for, let's move from split-second reactions to the subtle patterns liars can't fake for long. The unusual behavior. This one's straight from the FBI playbook. Before asking the tough stuff, agents ask neutral questions first to build a baseline, a reference point of how someone acts when they're telling the truth. Pay attention to their usual tone, posture, eye contact, and speech patterns. Then, once you switch to the sensitive topic, watch what changes. If someone who's normally expressive suddenly shuts down, if they usually maintain eye contact but now they're scanning the floor, that's a red flag. The point is, liars often break their baseline, and that's your opening. So their body betrays them. But what about their story? Let's see how consistent they really are with this next technique. The double question. One of the smartest ways to catch a liar off guard is to quietly set a trap. And the setup is simple. Ask the same question twice, just not the same way. Start with something casual like, "You went to the gym yesterday, right?" They'll probably nod and move on. No stress. But later, when they're relaxed and not expecting it, you circle back. "What workout did you do yesterday?" Because if they're lying, they have to remember what lie they told. And liars are terrible at remembering their own stories. If the details don't match, you just cracked their mask. But the problem is, sometimes liars play it safe. Not by changing details, but by being vague on purpose. That's where this next one comes in. Undecided words. Liars don't always tell bold lies. Sometimes they play in the gray zone. Listen for phrases like, "I think," "maybe," "I guess." These aren't just bad memory, they're verbal escape hatches. They're trying to keep things blurry so they can't get pinned down later. Sure, not every "maybe" is a lie, but when someone uses these phrases at key moments in their story, it's a sign they're afraid of being caught. And if they really want to avoid pressure, they'll do something even sneakier. Topic switching. This is where things get interesting. You bring something up. "Didn't you say she was the one who picked you up?" And suddenly they change the subject. "I did. Speaking of her, did you hear what happened with her job?" Topic switching is a clear avoidance strategy. The person doesn't want to stay in the uncomfortable space, so they steer away. It's like watching someone mentally reach for the eject button. Pay close attention here, especially if it happens right after a direct or uncomfortable question. Now imagine if you were the one pulling the strings mid-convo, because that's exactly what the next one is all about. Interruption with context switch. Here's a psychological trap for liars. Mess with their momentum. Right in the middle of their story, hit them with something like, "What were you doing right before that again?" That sudden shift increases cognitive load, and lying already takes a ton of mental effort. Now they have to remember what they said and adjust to your new angle. If they stumble, get confused, or restart the story with new, inconsistent details, you just caught them off guard. After the interruption, just say, "Sorry, go ahead, keep going," and watch how they pick it back up. If you're still watching the video, you're lucky, because the next one is so powerful it has become my favorite. The fake detail. This is one of the most underrated lie detection techniques. You drop a false fact into the conversation, on purpose. Like, You said it was Tuesday, but the store was closed that day, wasn't it? Someone telling the truth will usually correct you immediately. Wait, no, the store was open on Tuesday. I remember because I went in to grab something right before they closed. But a liar? They'll go along with it. Yeah, I guess it must have been closed then. They're too afraid of exposing themselves, so they roll with the fake detail, even if it makes their story shaky. The moment they agree with your made-up fact is the biggest red flag you can spot. But if their story involves time, let's really test it. Analyze time consistency. Lies fall apart when you zoom in on time. Ask things like, what time did you leave? What time did you arrive? How long did that take? Liars often can't do the math. They struggle to line up a believable timeline because they're not working from real memory. They're making it up as they go, and the more time specific you get, the harder it is for them to keep things straight. Everyone lies differently. Some people are smooth, so practiced they almost believe their own stories, while others trip over their own words the moment pressure hits. But no matter how skilled the liar, the truth always leaks if you know where to look. Here's the key to achieving the best results. Don't rely solely on these techniques. Combine them with your gut feeling and pay close attention to the signals you get from the other person. This is the only way to truly sense when something's off and to protect yourself from being deceived.